You're listening to the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network. The views and opinions expressed on this episode are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or philosophies of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible. This show has also been rated M for mature audiences only. I'm Jason Klaus, and over the course of my life I have done a lot of different things, worn a lot of different hats. But this may be my greatest endeavor yet. Welcome to my show, where on here we will discuss anything and everything that happens in the world around us and how we can go about making things better for you, for me, and everybody that we share this world with. I may go on rants, I will go on sidebars, but it all comes from the heart. Welcome to the Close to the Heart podcast, the flagship show of the PFC Entertainment Network. And we welcome you to what is going to be a very special edition of the flagship show here on the PFC Entertainment Network. Welcome to the Close to the Heart podcast. I'm Jason Klaus. We certainly appreciate you taking time out of your day to give the show a listen. And if you're watching this on Spotify, because we are doing this on Riverside, we are recording this on Riverside here. Welcome to the show. And again, this is we're still in that transition period where we're trying to work out the bugs here on this new platform. There are perks to it. There's pros, there's cons, just like with anything in life. It just happens to be in this realm at this point. And if you are watching this on Spotify, because that's one of the options here, if you were to go to the Spotify feed and you hit the link, this will automatically pop up the video from the recording session. And as you can tell, I'm not alone. Joining me this week as my guest and somebody that actually brought the topic to the table. And I'm very curious to get his take on it, but somebody that I've known for a long time. Watched this kid and his twin brother grow up right before my eyes in a lot of aspects. Became one of the premier superstars of what was the Michigan Wrestling Organization, MWO Hall of Famer. The guy does it all. And even in the time after the closure of the organization, he's still going out there and doing the damn thing, as it were. Please welcome my longtime close personal friend, the Cannonball, Alex Steele. Alex, it's good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you too, Jason. Yep, we've known each other almost 20 years now. I still vividly remember, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, October 16th, 2004 was my very first MWO show as a fan. The both of us were. Mm-hmm. I don't quite remember the card. I do remember a couple of things that happened from that night, but the point with that date is that's how long we've known each other. I met you backstage, I said, hey, we were a referee and a ring announcer at the time. And I remember you saying, well, we could always use the help. And 20 years later, here we are.
It's insane when you put it in that kind of context, because in a lot of aspects, it feels like it's only been a handful of years, but you look back and reality tells you, nope, we're approaching 2 decades here. Now, it's incredible. It really is. And the one thing that I find more importantly than anything is I have been able to maintain that friendship with you and your brother Andrew. And as well as I do, the world of professional wrestling is marred in continuous controversy. And make no mistake about it, there is a contingent of the MWO alumni I do not correspond with anymore for one reason or the other. Um, it is what it is, as they say. I'm certainly not going to sit here and lose sleep over it. Um, but it also hammers home the importance of like our friendship. Now, I've watched you and Andrew grow up before my very eyes in this business, and watching you guys, well, you specifically, Andrew, isn't really as involved in the wrestling business anymore at this stage. Would that be fair to say?
Yep, that is fair to say. His work schedule has, for a long time, not allowed it to happen. He works as a TSA officer at the Cherry Capital Airport. I'm very proud of him for having, the courage and the wherewithal to, undertake that responsibility, because this is a tremendous responsibility.
Absolutely.
And he wears that badge, and he wears the uniform with pride. Takes his job very, very seriously. But now his schedule has it so that he has Sundays and Mondays off. So at some point, I told him this morning, I want him on the hot tag. So at some point, the Power Trip and the Steele brothers will once again rule the airwaves, as it were. But that's another conversation for another time. If I may, let's go ahead and get to the reason why we're doing this today. The topic that I'm bringing up, the question that I want to, and the topic I want to, bring into discussion is the concept of being or feeling wanted versus being or feeling needed. And the topic came about, I was listening to the Plan B episode on Klaus to the Heart. I believe it was 2 weeks ago, as of this recording. Tremendous episode, if not a little heavy, but it still resonated with me. Mm-hmm. And I think there are many different aspects of this question that you can apply this to: relationships, friendships. And in my case, the where it came up for me is it was a brief feeling at the workplace. As you may or may not know, I'm presently the IT person at a doctor's office in Traverse City, Michigan. It's beautiful up here in the summer and cold in the winter, but as the sole representative of the IT department, I have a great deal of responsibilities, and I've also challenged myself to try to fill other roles, as it were. And the thought zapped through my head at one point. It's like, wow, I know that I'm needed, but am I truly wanted? And let me be very, very clear that I know that I'm very well appreciated at my workplace, and everyone there treats me with a great deal of respect. So let's get that out of the way.
So then what triggered this? Because obviously there's something happening where you were needed, as you said, because you bring a specific skill set to the table that clearly not a lot of people do. So at what point does your brain switch to, I know I'm needed, but am I wanted? Is there something happening where you are not feeling wanted?
I'm not particularly at the moment, but I know that with the Plan B discussion, there was I had a previous relationship where that that phrase came up. I'm not somebody's second option.
Right.
And I don't want to go too far into the weeds on that one. Just to know that there are things that I could have done better in that relationship. And there are times where I sit back and think about it, but it's been, let's see, it was 21. So it's been over 3 years since that's happened, and I've put it behind me. But I can see where there are situations that may arise where, hey, I need this, I may need this guy to do, to carry out a goal that I have in mind, but, out there, I have to imagine that there are situations where it's like, yeah, I need him, but, but I'm not, but at the end of the day, do I extend an invitation to have this guy just come out and have beers with, or have social interaction with?
Okay.
And that's like, I'm sure that this is something that's happening out there in the world. Can you offer any, I don't know, any insight on what you've seen or what you've heard from others or from your own perspective?
Well, what I can tell you is, see, when you proposed this idea, I was when on the surface, I was like, oh, he's dealing with something personal here. But you are relaying this in a professional landscape. You're talking about your job here. You're talking about, and it's one of those things where, because what I do for a living and what you do for a living are not on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
You are very much in the IT field, and that takes one set of skills and knowledge and all that. I am on the assembly line for one of the big three. So my professional experience and your professional experience is very vast, but at the same time, I can appreciate what you're saying, because yes, you do things that not a lot of people can do, and in order for their shit to work, you have to be able to be there because you are needed. Are
Mm-hmm.
you wanted though? And this is where it goes more into the personal side of things, because you're laying out this example of, yeah, they call upon me to fix the computers and to fix the internet and to fix this, that, and the other thing. That's great. But obviously, there had been a line in the sand that was drawn where, you're not being invited to the after parties. You're not being invited out to have a couple of beers with the guys at work or whatever. Is this something that is happening to you in real time? Is this something that has happened recently?
No, it has not. I know that I've been invited to company functions.
Right.
We have I have a very supportive work group, um, and to kind of put something back on me. I'm not the most social person in the world either. I'm the kind of guy that when I get home at night, during the weeknights or what have you, I'm just unwinding.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't made very many efforts to socialize.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm putting myself in a bit of a vulnerable position, but that's fine. But it was the nature of this discussion is more um, there's a book that there's a book that I've read. It's called it deals with unwanted intrusive thoughts,
Okay.
and those come up from time to time.
Give me
Our
an
brains
example.
work. So an example would be you know, I just had a moment at work where I was feeling overwhelmed. There was a lot of stuff going on, and then my brain zapped this in my head. Like, okay, well, I know that I'm needed here, but you know do these people actually want me around? But the answer has been a resounding yes. I'm able to take this thought and take the thought and um identify it as I can take a moment and identify the thought as this is an unwanted, intrusive thought. I know it's taking resonance in my head, and I just need to let it naturally, take its course and flow its way out. So I know that I've been dealing with a lot of confidence issues as of late too. And I do well most days. Like anybody else, everybody has their um their issues.
Mm-hmm.
I was more curious as to see, like, from a societal perspective, what does it seem like, want and need, like, what would you rather like have, like, in a relationship setting or in a friendship setting? Like, is there a reason why you would want to feel wanted more than needed, or the other way around? Like, I'm curious to know, like, what the thought process is there.
You bring up a good point here. When you break it down like that, how would you rather feel, needed or wanted? And a lot of people correlate that as to one lump thing. It's hard
Yep.
to separate one from the other, and I get that. However, you've known me long enough to know, Alex, that I need to get to the root of where the problem stems from, or where these thoughts stem from. And I feel like, and you've laid out a couple of scenarios here, things in your personal life that have happened in your personal life that have made you question wants versus needs. It's starting to bleed into other aspects of your life, such as your professional setting, because you're using these examples of, yeah, I'm needed, I'm called upon when work calls upon me, but that camaraderie, or that personal aspect of meeting up for drinks after work or whatever may not be a thing. And you've laid out, look, I'm not the most social individual that there ever was. But then, more importantly than that, I think back to what you said a moment or two ago, and that is, you were in a relationship, what, 3 years ago. It didn't work out. And I, it seems like this is something that you were very much dealing with, feeling those feelings of, I'm needed, but am I wanted? Now, I'm going to tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
As you sit here and you you take needs and wants and you put them on opposite sides of the line in the sand, which one do you want to go to? Which one do you want to feel? Now, I can tell you from my experience, I would much rather feel wanted than needed, because I have spent the last going on 3 years now
Mm-hmm.
being needed. I've been needed. I've
Yep.
been needed for this. I've been needed for that. I've been needed for another thing. But to feel wanted is a completely different mindset, because I need to know that the people that I spend my life with, I'm there because they want me there, not because I have to be there. Because when there is that have to feeling, there's like an underlying level of obligation. Like, these people are obligated to include you. Well, fuck all that. I don't
Right.
need to be an obligation. I need to feel like I'm wanted, because I am of the mindset that if you don't want me around, that's perfectly fine. But be a goddamn adult and tell me ahead of time, so I'm not wasting time, effort, and energy on a person, a situation, or an entity that does not want me there. I do
Mm-hmm.
not have time for this. So if you would save a lot of bullshit along the way, if you were just upfront and honest and be like, look, and it's one of those uncomfortable conversations that an individual will have with every other friend of theirs through a multi-person text thread about how I don't want to say they're shit talking you, but they're laying out why they don't want you around. But then they're going to turn around to your face and present themselves in generally a polar opposite perspective. What are we doing? Why are we
Right.
doing this? Just be up.
Exactly.
If you don't want me around, that's perfectly fine. I would have more respect for you if you just came out and said, "Look, I like you in this realm, but you just don't fit in my personal life, or your personality clashes with whatever the fuck." Look, I get that. I'm not for everybody. You're not
Hmm.
for everybody. So just be honest about it. Because, okay, we may not be hanging out after work or what have you. We may not be going on dates if it's on that realm. We may not be doing any of this shit. But I'll have a fundamental level of respect for you because you were upfront and honest instead of trying to fucking play me. Because when I
Hmm.
get played, that's a whole different mindset. And that's where I'm at right now, Alex. I have
Yeah.
been duped. I have been fucked around with for long enough to where it has altered my train of thought. And
Hmm.
subsequently, and this is the part that sucks, it affects how I interact with other people. I haven't seen you since you came up to Holly
Yep.
to see one of the backroad shows that I did there.
Yep.
And that was the first time I had seen you in a long time.
Hmm.
You popped up, you were like one of less than a handful of people that showed up that day.
Yep.
And but if I didn't like you and I didn't want to be around you, I would let you know. So it saves you the 3 hour trip from driving from Traverse City, Michigan down to Holly. You see
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Because
Absolutely.
I have that amount of respect for you. Look, Alex, I like you. I
Hmm.
think you're a great dude. I think you have all kinds of qualities. We just don't mesh. Listen. That's not true. That's not real.
Yes, I
I'm
know that. I
using
know
this as an
that.
example. Okay.
Per-
I just want to
yeah,
because
we are in lockstep.
your face got a little bit
No.
concerned there for a minute, and I need to look. That is not how I feel about you. You know
No.
this. I'm just
Yeah.
using this as an example. But at the same time, man, when a person starts to feel like they're not wanted,
Hmm.
they will either phase themselves out of the situation or the person's life or what have you, or it is a cut tie. They will sever those ties, and you will never hear from that individual ever again. But
Hmm.
there's that level of animosity, because
Right.
anytime you hear that person's voice or you hear their name or somebody's talking about them, it immediately
Just
solicits less than ideal
it
feelings, right?
elicits a less than favorable emotion. I totally understand. And yeah, you're right. And I know that you've gone through quite a fair share of
Bullshit.
struggles,
Let's just call
bullshit.
it what it is.
Let's just call it what it is. Your fair share of bullshit. Not just in the MWO days, but even post.
Yeah.
After you close the company down, one of the responses I had was, I respected the decision because I knew it was a personal decision that was going to lead you to your path of happiness. And I'm also aware of the fact that there were some that took great exception to it. And those people,
To this
th-
day.
to this day, they still talk shit. Well,
Mhm.
those people need to hit the bricks. And I'm sure you've made that clear in the past.
Has there ever been a time where I haven't made my intentions clear or my thoughts clear? If you ask me a point blank question, you're going to get a point blank answer right
Yep,
between the eyes, whether you want to hear it or not, because that's a respect level, right? That's something that
absolutely.
I expect the same. If you were to point blank ask me a question, as uncomfortable as it is, you have the balls to ask me that. And a lot of people don't because they're
Mm-hmm.
afraid of triggering me. They're afraid of me snapping. They're afraid. Listen, I don't snap as easy as people like to make it out to be. It takes me a minute to get there. If I do snap, it's because you have pushed me to that point, not because of the
Yep.
subject matter. Like I'll talk to
Mm-hmm.
anybody about anything. If you want answers, I may not do it on the air all the time, or I may not do it in a public setting. But if we're having a conversation and there's something burning within that you just have to know the answer to, because for whatever reason you ask me a question, I'm going to give it to you. I'll give
Absolutely.
you the answer.
Mm-hmm.
That's otherwise, if you can't take a person at their word, what's
Mm-hmm.
the point of even communicating with them? Because everything in your mind, it doesn't matter what it is, you are chalking it up as bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
You not believing what this person's saying. Yeah, I mean, you see the mouth running, and you hear the voice, you hear the noises that are coming out, but you
Right,
ain't
but that
putting
but then
anything
that
behind it.
translator in the back of your head is making it sound like the Peanuts characters, the
Wah
wah
wah.
wah 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 wah
Yeah.
wah wah wah. Yeah, at some point, when you get that does happen, and I think that's one of my biggest weaknesses personally is that I'm way too trusting, and I'm way too nice. You've probably said that
We have
about
said
me.
that time and time and time and time again. Yep.
I know we've had conversations about that in the past where I'm just like, I'm just way too happy go lucky. I'm way too trusting, which, I'll never change who I am at heart. I feel that I firmly believe that most people are good and everybody has good intentions. I just have to learn how to, uh, first of all, if they show their hand too early and I know that they're full of shit, then I know I can shut the door on them. But by and large, everyone that I've ever interacted with, uh, has had good intentions. I mean, there are people that, there are some people, former MWO alumni,
Mhm.
that have showed their hand to other people that I've had great deals of respect for, and that's turned me off to them because you know. I mean, I'm not going to drop names, obviously, but
Well,
there have been some situations that have happened where people that I used to have some degree of respect for it disappeared because they treated somebody else like crap.
it's unfortunate that that's how it is. And you're absolutely right. We've had conversations where it's like, Alex, bro, I know what you want this to be, but you got to look at it for what it is. And there are instances where, and that's one of the things that I have always appreciated about you and Andrew, for that matter. You guys, you wear your hearts on your sleeves. Like there is no question what your guys' intention is. There has never been, like, you guys have always had hearts of gold. But I have also seen where your hearts of gold have gotten you taken advantage of, have had liberties taken out on you. I've seen it. And listen, there have been more than one, and probably situations that you were not even aware of. But we would sit back, and obviously we're talking about during the wrestling time here, where we would sit back and watch the monitor, and we would watch people that you were working with take advantage of the situation, um, take advantage of your goodwill, take advantage of the fact that you do trust people, take advantage of the fact that you have a good heart and you're not going to say anything because you don't want to ruffle feathers. That's the way it was with you guys for the longest time. And we would sit back and watch cases where you guys were being legitimately abused in the ring during a match, to the point to where when your opponents came back through the curtain, they got escorted out the building, out the back door, and got a tongue lashing, if not worse, that the goddamnest thing that they've ever heard. Because under no circumstances was I going to allow that kind of bullshit break your spirit, because that's the kind of shit that does break a wrestler's spirit. Being continuously abused, being continuously shit on, and then they're going to turn around at the end of the day and put their arm around you as if it was a big goddamn joke. Well, the bruises and the bumps and the cuts and the scrapes, those are real life. That wasn't a joke. And that wouldn't have been a thing had they not been complete and total fucktards. And that's the kind of shit that I wasn't going to allow, because I wasn't going to allow that to break your spirit. You said it earlier, just a moment ago. You're not going to change who you are. And that's the other thing that I've always loved about you. You are unapologetically who you are. That's who you are. And that has never wavered. You have been involved in the wrestling business for 20 years almost. You have seen some shit. You've been in a lot of different locker rooms at this point. You've been around a lot of different people at this point. Wrestling can be one of the greatest things that's ever been done in the world of entertainment. But let's call it for what it is. It can also be the worst too, because you get people from all walks of life, man. You have good people out there in the business that are going to look after you, take care of you, teach you, protect you. Then you have other ones that are going to exploit you. They are going to manipulate you. They are going to abuse you. These are the sons of bitches that have no goddamn reason, no right to be in this business, because it's poisoning the overall landscape of that. Now let's get back on track here. Wants versus needs.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is a great conversation, though. This is a great thing to have. I feel like back to what you were saying before. I would prefer to be in a relationship setting. I would prefer to be wanted more than needed, because you may be needed to take care of the chores, help with the kids. I don't have any, but that situation pops up. I need you to help me with this. I need you to help me with that. My career is going in this direction, and if you could do this for me, that would be great. But A, what are you getting in return? And B, do they need you? Do they need you to do this stuff because they feel that you're the best person to do it? And it's like, I don't want anyone else in my corner. I want you because, you are the person that, fills a specific, you fill a specific need in my life. Or I need you because you're the only guy that can do it, because I've asked everybody else and nobody else, wants to do it. At that point, if it's option B, I would feel you have to look at yourself or ask the person in question, look in the mirror and go, well, why is it that nobody else wants to help you with this stuff? Is it a problem that you have? Like, let's talk about this. I think as we have this conversation and as it unravels, those are the things that I'm thinking about, and I'm thinking, okay, so next time, like, I get into a situation like that, I'll have those questions in the back of my head.
You've encountered this before, haven't you?
I've had 4 different relationships, each to a varying degree of success. I will tell you that one of the relationships that I had lasted about 3 years, and we were amicable. We didn't really get into any arguments or anything. But the one thing that I didn't really get from that relationship was a physical aspect. I didn't get like a physical, like, one of my love languages is touch. I'll just go ahead and throw that out there. If it is amazing, like, what the power of a simple touch on the shoulder or a hand on the other hand can do for a human being, from one to the other. And while we, were able to, be in each other's company and enjoy it, it just felt stagnant after a while. And then this person, something happened in their life that changed their perspective. Um, I don't want to get too in details because I don't want people guessing. But then again, let them guess. let them figure it out. But something happened where their job changed, and as a result, their life changed. Their outlook on life changed, and they really couldn't get over that. And it got to the point where it's like all that person would talk about was their work. And it's like, okay, cool. I'm here to listen to what happened at your job, but is there anything else that you can bring to the table here? And that didn't, it ended up not working out for that reason. And after we broke it off, I saw that person one extra time, and there was nothing that fired in me. I didn't have a sense of miss. I didn't have a sense of, sorrow or anything. I was like, well, okay. I mean, it was good to see you again, but at this point, I'm going this way. You go that way. So that's one example.
This is interesting. This is how I correlated the initial topic that you brought to the table. I'm like, this is personally charged. So something has happened, and I know of what you're talking about in terms of your relationship, because we all had high expectations for you, man. You were happy. You seemed like you were happy, but listen, when you started going down the path of a relationship, and I have maintained this, man, it's got to be a two-way street.
Yep.
It has got to be a two-way street, because the second it becomes one way, eventually you're going to run into that proverbial dead end. And that's and much like what happened with you. But the fact that you spend that amount of time with somebody and it doesn't work out, and you guys wind up breaking up or what have you, which is always unfortunate. But you said something very interesting to me. There was no feeling of sorrow. There was no feeling of missing that individual. That, I mean, how, when you look back on that and you don't have those kinds of feelings, did you just chalk it up that you were there because you were needed and not wanted? And because of that, it shuts down that part of your brain? Because I kind of feel like that's what's happening with you. There is a disconnect in some regard where you have been able to shut down those kind of emotions, because you spend 3 years with somebody, and even if they wind up being a complete and total asshole in the end, which I can relate, you you're still going to have some degree, at least in my perspective, you're still going to have some degree of emotional, I don't know, baggage, for the lack of a better term. There is going to be a twinge every time you hear that person's name or what have you. It's going to be like that uncomfortable feeling in your heart.
It does come up from time to time. And to me, it comes in the form of, if I would have just done things like this, or if I would have done things that way, it would have been better. I always blame myself for the miscomings of a relationship. And again, it's kind of entwined in my personality. I can see you shaking your head.
Street, Alex.
It is.
Unless you walked up to this chick and full bore blasted her in the face with a balled up fist or something along those lines, because I know that's a thing. But that ain't
that is.
That's not with you. So for you to take full responsibility of a breakup, I call bullshit on. Because again, it's a two-way street. And knowing you the way that I do, knowing you for as long as I have, I would assume that at some point you tried to have a conversation with this individual. Look, this is how I'm feeling. Things are not firing on all cylinders for me. What can we do to get back on one page? And if that other individual, the other party, is not receptive to that, they're not going to entertain the idea of having a conversation. How much more can you do?
Yeah, not.
You have brought to the table, look, I have a problem here. And you are
Mhm.
entitled to voice your opinion or your concern or however you're feeling. That's the other thing. People are being told and they're being made to feel like their feelings are not valid. And
Mhm.
you're overreacting, you're overthinking. Motherfucker, I have heard that shit for months at this point, and anytime I hear it now, it's a goddamn trigger because you
Mhm.
are entitled to how you feel. And if you bring that to the table, look, woman, I've got, and I don't mean this,
I understand.
it's a blanket statement.
Of course.
Sweetheart, I have a problem. This is my problem. This is how I'm feeling. You bring that to the table in an effort to work on this to save the relationship or what have you. If that's not reciprocated, well, then you just figured out, I guess, you were
Hmm.
needed more than you were wanted, and
Yep.
that is a goddamn problem in
It,
my estimation.
I totally agree with that. I'll also give you some insight on my last relationship to kind of flip this on the other side. Because most
If you tell me
relationships
you blasted a chick in the face, I am
no,
going to look at you in a different way.
that did not happen.
Okay, good.
I can tell you.
I knew
No,
that, but I was just throwing it out there.
hey, listen, put out the test. I'll pass it. so, um, to flip the other side, what I mean by that is, most of the relationships I've been in, I've been the one to end them because I've realized that, it's, for whatever reason, it wasn't working. The last relationship I was in, the other person actually ended it. But now this was a relationship that actually developed pre-COVID, and then COVID happened.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just a wild ride in and of itself. As well as I do, just how fucked up, COVID was for everybody. You know, COVID and the year 2020 was probably in your eyes and in the eyes of a lot of people, probably one of the worst years, of recorded history. And for many reasons, for many, many, many reasons, but with us, with the relationship that I was in last, we hit it off. Everything was going great. I actually looked forward to seeing this person. This person looked forward to seeing me. We were able to, talk. We were able to, I didn't feel the third relationship that I was in. I talked about second. I'll briefly touch on third. She was nuts. So the third person was like, I didn't feel like I could talk, when she got upset with me. And I knew that was not going to fly. That didn't last long. With this relationship, it was that dynamic was there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then COVID happened, and you know, there were some strange rules that came up, which, I mean, I understand where they came from because the person, had a sick, had a relative that was dealing with cancer, and me being a cancer survivor myself, after the fact, I have even more appreciation for, needing to do everything possible to follow those rules. So I understood why at the time those rules were in place. Like if I happen to go to do a show, or if I happen to go around, because, again, everybody was practically ordered to stay in their homes,
Yeah.
and I took the risk of, putting a mask on, getting out in society. And the rule was, I'll go ahead and say it, that, it needed 3 weeks. 2 weeks after you got back from whatever it was you were doing, plus an extra week for buffer. Then we can see each other face to face. But we would talk to each other over Skype. So we were still seeing each other just in a digital light.
Sure.
And even then, even during that time, things were going okay. And then, then I hit a portion where I was really dealing with some bad confidence issues. And at one point I muttered the phrase, or I uttered the phrase, I don't know who I am. And that was a problem. There was a period of time where I didn't know who I was, because I vividly remember in 2018, I feel 2018 was one of my best years, because that was my time. We had the MWO studio at the time. I had a run with the television championship. I was cutting promos. I really felt like I was in my element at that time. And then I was wondering where that guy went, because in 2020, I was a different shell of myself. So when you
how much was a contributor to the personal relationships that you were in that chipped away at your self-confidence? Is that what it was? Was it the overall umbrella of the pandemic that isolated everybody? Because a lot of people were fucked up coming out of lockdown. A lot of people embraced it. Like, this is my break. That, like, we went balls to the wall for so long until we were forced to stop. Right?
Yeah.
We were all told to stay home and all this other shit. But how much of the personal interactions that you were having, that you were a part of at that point, started to chip away at your self-confidence?
I think it was a part. I think that did start to chip away at my self-confidence. I on the one hand, I did sort of embrace it, because I took the opportunity to take on other hobbies. Like I started building my gaming channel during that time. We redid the basement. My father came over, and we basically spent, let's see, like March, April, all the way through July, remodeling the basement. That was a project that, I really that really, jazzed me up. And, it was a lot of bonding time with my brother and my father. That was a great period of time. But yeah, not being able to, having the restrictions to see my girlfriend, even if it was for truly, what's the word I'm looking for good reasons. There are legitimate reasons behind it, but it's still like played on me, and I don't know and then it's like, things started falling apart. I made some mistakes that I looking back, I know I could have done things better. I know I'm not faultless, but at the same time, it just ended up not working out in the end. And for 2 years after that, I couldn't really like get over her. I felt like, I was worried that this person was saying bad things about me, even though I didn't hear anything from anybody saying that, and really, I think I even reached out to her, very recently, just to try to. I was in therapy, trying to deal with these confidence issues and trying to deal with these thoughts and everything else. And then one of the suggestions was, why don't you just reach out to her and ask her what's going on? Why don't you just ask her, tell her what you're thinking. And he's like, I'm having a hard time getting over you, and it's, I feel like, I constantly I could have done better. And, we had a very, positive conversation, a frank conversation, where it's like, it's over, just, you just need to put it behind you. and I don't have, and this person, she told me she didn't have any resentful feelings towards me, you know, because I think that's another fault of mine is I'm so worried about what everybody else thinks of me, and I want everybody to like me, but I do have to realize, and hearing some of your episodes, hearing some of your shows, there's always going to be somebody talking shit about you, for whatever reason. And at some point, you just have to know your self worth, and you have to realize, okay, this person can say whatever, Jack Wagon B can say whatever they have on their mind, but I know in my heart that what I know is true and what I know is just, and that person doesn't know what they're talking about. I have a good grasp on that ability, but I need to continue to hone it.
I totally understand what you're saying here. And I think this is where this is individualized. This is individualized in how people respond to different setbacks and breakups and things of this nature. You reached out to find out what all went on, why it went on, this, that, and the other thing. People need they need some sort of closure. They need some sort of period at the end of the proverbial sentence, and I can understand that. People want to know um, the what, why, when, where, all that shit. I was much like you in the aspect was I wanted everybody to like me. I didn't want to be anybody's enemy. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
strive to be anybody's enemy. Now, people will take exception to that because they think they have an idea as to what goes on in a person's individual personal lives, but at the end of the day, they don't know fuck all. They're getting a either one-sided version of the story, or they're getting these snippets of information. They're taking 30-second clip out of a 2-hour conversation and putting their own narrative on it because you know they're bored with their own lives, and this is how they scratch a proverbial itch, for the lack of a better term. There's something lacking in their life, so in order to fill that, they're going to, the way their brain's wired, this is how they respond to it. They shit talk to other people about other people. And then you turn around and, the person that they're talking shit about to you, then they're going to turn around to that person. You know what I'm saying? It's a vicious
Mm-hmm.
goddamn cycle. And this is why
Yeah.
I'm of the mentality where, look, the people who know me actually know me, their opinions are the ones that matter.
Yeah.
And their opinions are the ones that I give more than a half a thought to. And more often than not, these are the people that do want me around, not because they need me around.
Yep.
Um, I can look at this network. We've got 9 different shows happening, either on podcast or on television.
Yep.
And I've got a variety of different people who host a variety of different shows here. And there are times where I ruffle people's feathers
Yep.
because our visions are not they're not lining up. Now that's not to say that I know I'm needed here to put their content out. But at the same time, I've also taken great strides to form a team here where we all not only need each other, but we want to be around each other. And that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
that's, that's what I strive for in the MWO. But when you get a group or a roster of that size, it is virtually impossible to be universally liked, to be universally respected, because they'll tell you without a shadow of, oh yeah, man, I've got your back. I've got, you're this, you're that. And then you get them in the real world and it's a polar opposite. I learned that firsthand. But I didn't
Mm-hmm.
sit here and dwell on it, Alex. I didn't sit here and be like, why don't so and so like me? And I used to. I used to be like that. It used to really bother me that somebody didn't like me because I went above and beyond to be what they needed me to be. You
Mm-hmm.
know, now I'm of the mindset after years, after all kinds of different scenarios that were brought to me and the things that I put myself into, I just don't give a fuck about
Mm-hmm.
what people think about me. The ones that want me around, that's where I'm at. The
Yep.
ones that have a specific need, you get bare minimum. Now I'll give
Yep.
you everything that I've got in that realm. If you need me for something, I'm going to give it. I'll give you everything I got to get you to where you need to be. However, as soon as my obligation here is done, I'm out of here because
Yep.
I'm not wanted here. And I'm not going to spend my time and effort and energy to be somewhere where I'm not wanted. In
Yeah.
terms of a personal relationship, there is a balance because we want to feel like we are a contributor to the relationship. We want to feel like that we're needed because we want our significant other to know that they can call upon us
Yep.
and we're going to be there to facilitate whatever it is that they need. But you also got to have that feeling of being wanted too. So in a personal relationship, you've got to have both. There's got to be a little bit of both on here. It can't be one over the other, right? Now,
Absolutely.
if you had to, if someone was pointing a gun at my head and be like, pick one, well, then I'm going with want. I want to be wanted. I
Yep.
want to feel like I'm wanted because that overrides that feeling of need for me. Not everybody adopts that philosophy, and I can respect that. But in my situation, in my personal feeling, knowing how I react to different things, knowing what I continuously overcome, a lot of my issues, a lot of the things that I'm dealing with and working through and navigating through is that lack of feeling wanted. And it
Yep.
will fuck with you. It will start to chip away at your self esteem. If my significant other doesn't want me around, what's wrong with me? Why don't they
Right.
want me around? So I can appreciate this. But at the end of the day, and as we start to wind this down, because we're coming up on an hour here, um,
Mm-hmm.
I will say this uh, to you directly because I know you as a person, as a man, and I know what makes you tick. What I will say, Alex, is this: there is a balance between feeling wanted and needed. If you are not wanted, you do not need to spend your time there. There's other situations, there's other scenarios, there's other people out there that you are not aware of at this point, but that you are going to be what that person not only needs in their life, but what they want in their life. And until that day comes, do not, under any circumstances, allow another individual or entity to alter who you are fundamentally to your core. You are a good man with a good heart that is lacking in this day and age in our society. People could take a lot of lessons from Alex Steele about how to treat other people, about how to be different things to other people. And your time is coming. I firmly believe there is somebody out there for everybody. You just got to find them. There's a lot of
Yep.
people in this world, and there's a lot of things going on. And, there's a lot more happening outside the city limits of Traverse City, Michigan,
Oh
or
yeah.
the state lines of the state of Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Like there's somebody for everybody. I firmly believe that. Um, but at the end of the day, the one that you wind up with is going to be that individual that, and you've heard me talk about this last week on the Plan B episode. If you are not heard, respected, or valued, then what the fuck are we doing?
Yep.
I mean, if you're looking to get the noodle wet, that's one thing. Like, bless your heart. You don't have to have that level of substance for that to be a thing. A lot of people, live their lives like that, and that's cool. If that's what blows the wind up your skirt, then more power to you. But for other people that need or require a little bit more substance in their relationship, that's more than just skin deep, or hip deep, as it were. You do not compromise what you want and need for a meaningful relationship that is going to satisfy every aspect of your being, physically, mentally, psychologically, and you will find that balance between being needed and being wanted. And that's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. That's I think I couldn't have put it any better.
Well, I'm glad we had this talk.
Me too.
As we
good talk, go team.
Yeah, as we start to put a bow on this, is there any kind of plugs or shout outs? Where you got any shows coming up here soon?
I do have a couple of shows. One I do want to outline is I will be performing at Mr. Chainsaw Pro Wrestling on Saturday, March the 30th. I will also be involved in their May 11th show, which is they call it Battleground, and it's one of their bigger shows of the year. Obviously, as the dates get closer, I'll share on my Cannonball Alex Steele Facebook page on where you can see me and what I'm doing in the wrestling business. And I also would implore you at some point out there in PFC Entertainment Network land to check out the Steele Twins Gaming on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. YouTube especially because that's where you'll find our voice acting playlist. My brother and I, along with we've started to build our own troupe of actors, as it were. And every Monday night or whenever we can, get everybody together. We put these streams up, we play games with a lot of narrative in them, and then we just act out the dialogue. And it's something that I've had a lot of fun doing in recent years. And we're currently on season 11 of our, we've done like 11 different projects. So it's it's a lot of fun. So just to check that out, and of course, continue to support everybody on the PFC Entertainment Network. Everybody on that network has something to offer to everyone. And you best believe that when the time comes, when the hot tag comes up, you best believe the Steele brothers are going to make an appearance together. I'm just going to say that right now.
Listen, Sean Grugel's going to hear this. And as soon as he hears this, I feel like I'm getting a text message of some sort. We need to make this happen. So
yeah,
we will listen. Having a power trip versus Steele Brothers reunion in any realm is threatens for a good time, and we're here for it. So with that being said, now you mentioned you got these shows coming up. Where are they being held at?
The Mr. Chainsaw Pro Wrestling shows in particular are being held at the Coliseum in Kalkaska, Michigan. I don't know if that is their home venue at this point in time. And they're running every 2 months or so. But they usually draw very, very well. And on May 11th, they'll be taking over the main ice rink. So we have so that gives us the opportunity to draw a bigger crowd. So, that you definitely want to make your plans for that day.
All right. Well, Look for the links, look for the advertisements, the graphics, as it were. You can catch the Cannonball Alex Steele live in action. And listen, you want to talk about passion? You're not going to find any more passion in an individual than you will in the Cannonball Alex Steele. So I can appreciate that. Alex, thank you so much for coming on the show here. Hopefully, we were able to shed some light or, make you feel a little bit lighter about things. It was a very good conversation, and I appreciate you so very much. You know this.
Mm-hmm.
As we wind this down, let me go ahead and run through the gambit real quick. You're hearing this on Tuesday, so tomorrow is Power Tripping Through the 80s. Thursday is the Hot Tag, very special edition of the Hot Tag, too. I don't mind that. I don't mind telling you. We got two very special guests that joined us on that particular episode. Friday, you're going to get the Potato Palace perspective with Pope Brandon Brownson. Saturday is the Real Podcast. It is Amy Week here this week. Thank God.
Yeah.
Sunday is we don't talk about that with Joanna Barnes and Natalie George. Monday is Say What? Or, this might be the launch of her new show this week. We got more changes coming along the lines here, but this Friday, live on ONTV, Fatal 4-Way with myself, Sean Grugel, Quadell Edwards, and Brian Balf. And we've got a lot of shit to talk about in the wrestling business, and you can actually call in and be a part of that conversation. So tune in, facebook.com/Orion ONTV this Friday beginning at 6 p.m.
Can I just say something real quick? Yeah. My heart is so full knowing that you have a live television program on ONTV with three of your closest friends just talking about the wrestling business. I know. Yeah, it's something. I mean, it was just an idea, and then it just exploded. And I heard about how the special people that called in just to congratulate you or took special time out of their day. My heart's so full for you, man.
I really appreciate that, and I know it resonates with you differently than other people because you have heard pitch after pitch after pitch that started with "what if," and then it turns into something like this, and I'm over the moon excited about it. I've got the right people in the right places, and the sky is the absolute limit for them. And I love that for them. And, if I'm just kind of steering the ship, you know what I mean? Like I'll get you there, but once we get there, it's up to you as to what you do with it. Right. I mean, that's been my MO from running the wrestling business to what I'm doing here and now and everything in between. I'll give you the opportunity. What you do with it is 100% up to you, right? So, he is the Cannonball Alex Steele, and we certainly appreciate you, brother. And this will not be the last time you will grace our airwaves here on the PFC Entertainment Network. You can check out the online store too, real quick, cafepress.com/PFC Network or pfcnetwork.net, the official website of our network. With that, go out this week. Be awesome to yourselves and to each other. We'll see you next time right here on the Close to the Heart podcast, the flagship show of the PFC Entertainment Network.